Okay, so we will start the scenario-based questions discussion. So I'm going to start with Zig, go up. So obviously the first question goes to Zig, but others also should read the question, keep the answer in their mind, and I may ask you as well. Okay. So let's first start with say planning area. And okay, oh, I told you I'll do something more before we start the questions. Okay. So there's one document which we recently added, and I think it may not have been communicated very well. There is one document which I would like you to take a look. This is it's called when to use which one. Okay, this is the document. So let me open this document. So what this document tells you is based on a particular context or situation, which technique would be most appropriate? Because in many questions, you will be asked this question, like suppose your intent is to generate ideas. What would be the best technique for that? Okay, so this is what we have done here. So the first aspect is to find likely cost, effort, and schedule for your work. And obviously, you use estimation as the technique. If you're trying to find the value of a project, financial analysis is the technique that we should use. Want to make a decision, use decision analysis and decision modeling. Want to generate ideas, plan brainstorming. And if you want to get inputs from a large number of stakeholders, questionnaire or survey would be a good technique to follow. So maybe few I would take your help. So Mark, maybe you can cover some 5 techniques for me so that all of us hear this and keep this in mind. Go ahead, yeah.
Sorry, just read those 5 lines?
Yes.
Okay. So getting consensus among stakeholders, would be good to use a workshop.
Yes.
For checking quality of a requirements document, you might use reviews. Discuss a topic in depth. You might want to get a focus group together. Understand context from available information. Then you will want to do a document analysis. That's how most of the available information be contained.
Okay. Muhib, can you take next few, maybe 4 or 5? Muhib? Oh, Muhib is not there, looks like. Okay. Nishant, can you take 4 or 5 for me?
Yeah, sure. Describe status of an entity. Then we will use the state diagram. Then for show interaction between various entities.
Be a bit louder, Nishant. We are not able to hear you very well.
Yeah. Right.
Better,
now?
yeah. Better, yeah.
Yeah. Show interaction between various entities. We will use the sequence diagram.
Yes.
Then for the show process states, we will go for the activity diagram. And show relationship between various entities. And class diagram. Describe requirements from user perspective. We will use user story. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you can complete up to visualize. Then I'll take with Nitya or somebody. Yeah.
Okay, fine. List stakeholders for project. We will use stakeholder list. Then group stakeholders, we will go for stakeholder map. Visualize stakeholder groups, we will go with persona.
Okay. Any doubt on key objective of these situations and techniques? So far, so good?
In this, we are using UML only. UML concept we are using, right?
It can be UML. Some of them are UML, some of them are non-UML as well. Not all of them are UML. Like activity diagram, sequence diagram, state diagram, they fall into UML. But at least have a broad level of understanding. You may not have to get too much deep into the technique, which is expected for CBAP, but at least on an outer layer, like you at least understand what class diagrams represent, where they are used. Those kind of questions can come. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Muhib, are you there? Muhib? No? Okay, I'm not able to hear him. Nitya, go ahead.
Yes. So
maybe
to
up to
assign
estimate. You can complete the estimation part.
Sure. To assign responsibilities to stakeholders, we use RACI matrix. So RACI is an acronym, and we got to know the expansion for that. And estimation without much information, for that we can use expert opinion, which means a lot of experienced industry people, expert opinion. And estimate with past data, for that we are using parametric estimate. And next comes estimation with multiple experts. For that we use Delphi technique. And estimation with the budget, we go with top-down approach. Estimation by dividing the solution, we go with bottom-up approach. And then comes...
One second, Nitya. One second. I missed one scenario which I would write it down for you and maybe make it part of this Excel as well. There is one more situation which you should remember. One is if you want to estimate best case, expected, and worst case scenario. In this case, we use a technique called PERT analysis, PERT estimate. And if you have actual data, actual effort, and revise the estimate, this is called rolling wave estimation. Of course, if you read Babak, all these are kind of explained quite well. But these two scenarios, I think I will also include in this particular workbook. Okay. So let me just make a note for myself, because I think these two scenarios I haven't included in the scenario list. Include in techniques scenario list. Looks so ugly. Let me just paste it as control text. Let me mark it to myself. Okay, good. So we are back to our discussion. Where is it? It's here.
And to build fun and activity orientation in a workshop, for that we use collaborative games and break your aspect to something more manageable. For that we use functional decomposition.
Okay, stop. Pavani.
Yeah, hi. Describe interaction between two types of entities. We use interface analysis. Describe org dot structure. We use org model. Describe aspects in solution scope model.
One second, Pavani, one thing I write here. Although like we say scope, not what is that? Babak uses a word, solution space. I should write a scenario for solution space as well, like identify different probable solutions. This is what we call it as solution space. Although Babak doesn't call it as a technique, but we can more or less think solution space as something that allows us to identify different probable solutions. Okay.
Understand physical operations. We use observation. Understand user requirements by building a mock product. We use prototype model. Explain terms in a domain, we use glossary. Describe concepts in a tree-like structure, mind map.
Stop.
Plan
Okay.
and
Okay, you want to do last one? Okay, do it. Yeah.
Yeah, plan and track remaining work. We use backlog management.
Very good. Any question on any of these situations and why such a technique was used? Are all okay? Okay. Then we take the remaining few. Maybe this 5. Suman, you can take.
Starting from business rules analysis?
Yes.
Okay. So if we have to describe rules followed in business, then we'll use business rules analysis. To capture learnings from a project, we use lessons learned. Rank remaining work is prioritization. Then track issues or action items, we use item tracker. Define must requirements, we use acceptance criteria.
Very good. Then Zig, maybe next 5.
Okay, so define parameters to choose criteria or define parameters to choose between multiple options evaluation criteria. Then define measure access with metrics and KPI. Okay, understand process performance with process analysis. Identify underlying cause of problem, root cause analysis. Then to suitable supplier vendor assessment.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Muhib, are you there? Not sure. Okay. Then few others like understand and predict data patterns. We use data mining. If we want to define quality attributes of a solution, we use the technique called non-functional requirements. Define specific privileges for various roles. We use role permissions matrix. To define data elements of a solution, we use data dictionary. Define flow of data between various entities, data flow diagram. Provide a holistic performance measure for a project, program, organization. We use balance scorecard. Depict capabilities and organizational performances on those capabilities. We use business capability analysis. Provide a justification for an investment. We use business case. Define or describe fundamental building blocks of a business or an entity. We use business model canvas. Make decisions under uncertainty. That means there's a probability factor involved. We use decision analysis. To compute financial performances, we of course use financial analysis. Understand and manage possible negative consequences of our project, risk analysis, and understand external situation, organizational strengths and weaknesses. We use SWOT analysis. So this is actually a fairly good list. So take a look at this. I really loved this Excel. It took us some time, but in a sense, this can help you to answer about 30 to 40 questions in the examination. If you keep this table in mind, it will be so much easier for you to answer your CCBA, even CBAP type of questions as well. Okay. Any question anybody would like to ask on this particular workbook? This is something I would like again you to take a printout. We haven't included it in the study guide yet because this is like a really fresh product. You can take it that way, but this is very valuable. So do kind of consider this as a good guide for answering your questions. Okay. So now we are ready to take actual jump. Yes, Suman.
Can you explain what is the difference between decision tree and like the tree decision tree or the mind map? Because both the techniques are being used.
Okay. A decision tree is a specific type of mind map. In a sense, you can take it that way. See, mind map, even if you look at fishbone diagram, I did not talk about fishbone diagram and 5Y. I think I should include fishbone diagram, fishbone diagram and 5Y. These are part of root cause analysis. So if you look at fishbone diagram, it is also a mind map, but it is used for a specific purpose. Say, for example, you can maybe you can draw this kind of a parent-child relationship. There are a lot of techniques like that. Not only what you asked, I can show you some hierarchy, like a group kind of thing. So on the top, you have mind map. Okay. A specific type of mind map is fishbone diagram, which is used to find root cause of a problem. Another type of mind map is decision tree, which is used to make decision with probability. Other kinds of mind maps you can think of is, even if you look at work breakdown structure, it's also a mind map.
Okay.
These are all kind of maps. Just that mind map happens to be, okay, maybe I can, if you don't want to call them as mind map, it's still fine. I could just call them as map. Different kind of maps we can draw. And in this, I could add another map, which is mind map. So the main difference between mind map, the mind map is actually a circular diagram. It doesn't have a direction, okay? Whereas others usually have a direction. Like say, for example, this is more like a breakdown structure. Starts at top, breaks down. A decision tree is something like this. If you want to draw a decision tree, I would show you a decision tree if you want to see that. Courseware. It's there in your library as well. If you go to library, you will find that. 1 second, decision tree. I did not put it here. What did I call it? Maybe I'll find it here. 1 second. Example BA templates. Okay. In this, I will have a lot of this. It's there in library as well. So, for example, here, here is the decision tree example. So, suppose you want to make a decision, and the decision is to how to build your business in a foreign country, and you have two choices to make, or two decision. One decision to make is to whether you will set up your own company or you want to work with a partner. These are two possibilities for a company. So there are different kind of outcomes which are expected depending on which one you want to take up. Like say, for example, if you set up your own company, typically would it be easy for you to get revenue, or if you work with a partner, it will be easier for you to get revenue? Which one will be easier?
Work with a partner.
With a partner. Correct, because the partner already knows the country, they know the local rules, regulations, they may have a distribution network. Okay, so a lot of European companies or American companies, they would typically work with a company which is already present. Suppose you are an American company, you want to go to Europe, you try to find out a company which will complement you. In the sense, suppose you are making generator sales. So you may go to Europe and find a company which is making industrial equipment. Because that company is already making industrial equipment, it already has connect with a lot of corporates. So they can help you to reach many more customers. So that is why it is possible that there are different kind of outcomes based on the decision that you make. So you also compute probability. That's the big difference. You always say, okay, what is the probability that I'll hit 500,000? So it's 0.2. What's the probability that I'll meet 0.3 million? 0.4. Like this, you put the probabilities, then you compute the value, like the outcome revenue with the probability. That's what we call it as expected value. Then you add all these expected values and you get a number of, say, 0.26 million. Here it is 0.36 million. That means you can get another $100,000 by working with a partner than going yourself solo. That is why you see a lot of companies actually go and find a partner in a different country. They don't want to, because the volumes are not that high for them to establish a full-fledged office, salespeople. You have to do all the work to grow business in a particular country. Whereas large companies, because they have the resources, they may decide to set up their own factory, whatever they do. Like say Toyota would have factories in US. They don't partner. But in some countries, they may be partnering. It's not necessary that they will do everything everywhere by themselves. It depends on the volume of business, margins, all that they decide, and then they take a call. This is what is called a decision matrix. Not a decision matrix, decision tree. Okay. So it's also kind of a map, but with a lot of mathematics. Whereas a mind map would typically be just a diagram indicating what are the options before us, what are the positives of an option, negatives of an option, all that you can draw it in a pictorial way. Suppose this same thing I wanted to draw it as a mind map. What I would do is I will take, you can actually take one smart art. There is one matrix, not matrix. Somewhere here I have seen one template which you can use. Let me take all. I've seen that. I've used it quite often actually. Just 1 second. This one. This one you can actually use it like a mind map. It's not so great, but you can use. Say, for example, go solo. Go with a partner. So what is the benefit of going solo? All control. You have complete control on the process. Demerit, takes time. Okay. With a partner, less control, faster. You can draw it, I think, more with a better mind mapping tool. One of the mind mapping tools that you can use is draw.io. That's a great tool that you can use, draw.io. Draw.io. And here you can draw actually mind maps quite nicely. Somewhere here, mind maps, arrows, somewhere here it may be there. Mind map. I didn't show a good one. I've seen nice mind maps being done using this one. Entity, it's not entity relationship. In advanced, no. Miscellaneous. There are some, maybe more like this. Topic, subtopic. It's like this. So you can actually create a subtopic. From here again, suppose this is the central theme. Central idea, subtopic. From here again, you can create another subtopic. You can connect this to this. Like this you can draw. Actually, this is not coming very well. You can connect this to, sorry, this to this. I don't need this. Again, you can take another subtopic and connect this to this. This is how you can build your mind map. Central idea, subtopic, subtopic, subtopic. You can go as many branches as you like.
Yes.
Good. Then I think we'll back to our question. I can close this. I don't want to save it. This I have explained. So I have nothing more to explain here. And I will go to questions now. And we will start with Zig. Okay. So Zig, please read the question and tell me your answer for the question. Scenario-based question. And we start with, maybe for today I'll take CCBA. Someday I'll take CBAP as well. Doesn't matter. These questions can come for both the exams.
Okay, which statement completes the following statement the least effectively? When considering the impact of project approach on business analysis planning for the customized component of the new software package, the approach will be. Let's give me a second. Okay, so least is.
Actually, little hard question, Zig, but try, no harm.
Definitely communication with the developers, maybe this one. Not sure, to be honest.
Okay, no worries. Suman?
Yes?
What would be your choice?
I'll have to read. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, no problem. Lakshmi? What's your choice, Suman?
According to me, it's option 1.
Okay. Lakshmi?
Yeah, just give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, Suman?
Sorry, it's asking the least effectively. So my option will change to last one, option 4. I thought it's like I gave you the most effective option.
Okay. Lakshmi? Okay, no worries.
Option C.
Option C. Okay. Let's read the question carefully. What it is asking. Which statement completes the following statement least effectively? So most likely we are looking for a wrong answer, wrong choice. When considering the impact of project approach, that is basically project plan, on BA plan, okay, the remaining part is actually useless. Will project plan come before BA plan or after BA plan?
It should come before BA plan.
Correct. So from that perspective, how can it be a successor? Will it be a predecessor or a successor? What comes first? The project plan comes first. Then comes the BA plan. So, okay, let's from a Babak perspective, please understand how a project is constructed or structured. Okay, so this is how the project is usually structured. So this is where the project manager comes, which I believe most of you would have seen. So below project manager, you have a business analyst, you have a technical analyst, and you probably have a quality analyst. Okay, so the BA is responsible for requirements. Technical analyst is responsible for this is what Baba calls it as implementation SME. Implementation SME. Quality assurance is again the test team, which will also be part of project management. So typically the PM will create an overall plan, and the remaining people like the BA, the implementation SME, the quality assurance team, they have to create a more detailed plan, but adhering to the project plan. So that is why the project plan will come before BA plan. So from that perspective, if we look at the question, C is an incorrect choice. It means project plan is not a successor to BA plan, but the question is looking for something which is wrong. That is why we would go ahead with C. Usually, it's not a good practice to ask negative questions, and not many negative questions come in the exam, but you should still keep an eye. It's possible that you get some negative questions as well. So just don't be in a hurry. And if you wouldn't have read the word least properly, like Suman did, she would have chosen an option which is positive, and then that would have been wrong. Okay, good. Next question goes to Suman. Suman?
Yes, I'm reading the question.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Option B.
Lakshmi? What would you choose?
B.
Okay, both of you are right. In fact, if you observe this question, are we doing structured and walkthrough in this situation?
No.
No. Strike it out. Cut. Okay. Then are we doing data model? No. Nowhere data model is mentioned. So now cut. Okay. So two are gone and you are left between two. And in fact, if you look at it, process model is also something that we are not doing. So I can still strike it out. Then I'm left with only option B, which is the method to use if you want to eliminate wrong options. Okay. Good, Suman. Got it perfect. Okay. Third question goes to Lakshmi.
Okay, I'll read.
Yes, take care. No problem. Yeah. What's your choice, Lakshmi?
A.
Okay. Nishant?
I will go with B. Yes.
A for alpha?
B, beta.
Beta, okay. Muhib?
Yeah.
Muhib? What happened to Muhib? I'm not able to hear him. Let me just ask. Maybe he'll respond back. Okay, not a problem. Okay. Looks like all of you got it wrong. It is not nowhere in Babok. It says that you have to have consistent documentation across the enterprise. Because situations can be different. Projects can be different. There can be small projects, large projects, ultra large projects. Okay. But one thing Babak could always tell is that whatever you write, they should be understandable to your stakeholders. If something is not understandable, why are you writing? Okay. So remember this is like a theme of Babok. Everything that we do, it is for the good of our stakeholders. Okay. So that's why requirements must be understandable to our stakeholders. Okay. Next question goes to Nishant.
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Go ahead, Nishant.
Yes. I will go with A, conduct requirement workshop and talk through with the stakeholders.
Mark, what would you choose?
Either A or B. I think B would probably be better because you'd start with brainstorming rather than requirements.
Okay.
Either way, get together with stakeholders and talk it through.
True. Okay. Remember this. Actually, brainstorming, focus group, requirements workshop, collaborative games, and requirements review workshops, they're pretty close in terms of how you perform them, the kind of structure you follow. They're very close, but there is a difference. In brainstorming, we try to generate ideas. In workshops, we try to find requirements. But in this situation, what are we trying to do? We are trying to validate the scope, which is to review the scope. So when you are trying to do review, walkthroughs are actually good. Walkthrough is a type of review. If you read the review technique, it will very clearly say formal inspection, walkthrough. These are different types of reviews. So when you are trying to review something, review would be better option than workshop. Requirements workshops are mainly meant to get requirements, not necessarily review them. Review happens little later. So remember the focus of each technique. Good. Then the last question for this chapter, let it be for Mark.
Okay. I would say option D.
Okay. Zig?
Give me a second.
Okay. The correct answer for this question is actually option D. D for Delta. Okay. Babok permits you to use any kind of format that works in your situation. Babok is a very flexible guide. Actually, if you read, it nowhere forces you, this is the technique to use or this is the way to follow things. It will always be flexible. It will always say you can repeat tasks, you can use multiple techniques, you can modify things if you feel appropriate. You don't have a standard format. Okay, so the option is actually option D. Good. I fully understand when we are looking at the questions first time, they will always look little harder. That's natural. And when I started my preparation, to be very frank, I was scoring between 25-30%.
Sorry, I did say option D. Did you think I said B?
I heard it as option B. Did you say D? Then it's right.
I said D. D is in Delta.
Yeah. Then I think you're right. Sorry. Okay, my mistake. But as I was telling you, don't feel bad that you are not able to score 75-80% in first attempt. If you're scoring 75-80% in first attempt, you're doing fantastic. Even if you're doing greater than 50%, you're doing very good. Okay, so don't lose heart that I'm not able to get 50% or 60% in first attempt. As you do more and more questions, you will get the flair. How does the question come? What does it look for? What is it actually asking me to find? Once we do that, it becomes a lot easier for you to answer questions. Okay, before I kind of move out of the BA planning area, there's one table that I would like you to take a look. So I'm going to kind of open Babok for a minute. I wish we could have put it in our study guide properly. I think it is there, but it is still good to take a look at one particular task which I find a bit complex, which is to choose the approach. I, of course, have my personal differences with what Babok says. Doesn't matter. Okay. So let's take a look at what kind of approach Babok recommends when. So this paragraph is very important for us. And let's read these two paragraphs. Predictive approaches focus on minimizing upfront uncertainty. Uncertainty is nothing but risk. Okay, I don't know why we use the word risk and uncertainty together. I think it's better to use one word, which is risk. So we are trying to minimize the risk, ensuring solution is defined before implementation begins. So we have defined our solution very well before we start constructing it, to maximize control and minimize risk, which is again a repetition of what we wrote in the first word. These approaches are often preferred in situations where requirements can be effectively defined ahead of implementation. That means you can know your requirements well. The risk of an incorrect implementation is unacceptably high. That means if the outcome of a failure is disastrous, or when engaging stakeholder presents significant challenges. So these are the situations that Babok recommends us to go for predictive approach. Now on adaptive approach, adaptive approaches focus on rapid delivery of business value in short iterations in return for acceptance of a higher degree of risk regarding the overall delivery of the solution. That means if you are willing to take a little more risk, then you can go for adaptive. The cost of failure isn't that high. The approaches tend to be preferred when taking an exploratory approach, which is true, to finding the best solution or for incremental improvement of an existing solution. So these two paragraphs are very important. So kind of highlight them in your BABOK guide and in your study guide as well. And this table is also kind of quite important. What happens in predictive approach and what happens in adaptive approach. This is there in study guide as well. So remember that. And typically, if you look at this particular paragraph, it kind of tends you to say that if a project is very complex and has high risk, you typically go for predictive. So these are the situations which prompt you to go more towards predictive than adaptive. So this page, couple of pages, I would like you to read once more because this is one task on which you may get questions in the exam. Like, should we go predictive or should we go adaptive? Okay, good. Any question you would like to ask me on BA planning area before we move to elicitation? Anyone having any question in mind? Okay, if not, you can ask me on the last day as well. But by that time, I would at least request you to read the study guide completely once and kind of mark your own questions so that you can come back and ask us questions. Okay, good. Then we move to questions for elicitation, and we will start with Mark. Okay, just to tell you a little bit about the platform, which I believe you might have observed. Usually you will see three buttons. One is restart, resume, and review. When you click restart, it kind of refreshes the answers. So all the answers are kind of written off. Resume means you have actually completed part of the question, you want to continue from there. Review mode actually tells you what options did you choose, was it the right option, why it was not the right option. All that comes in the review mode. Okay, so I will click restart because I want the past answers to go back. Okay. Go ahead, Mark. Actually, I need to change this question a little bit. It's the questioning pattern. That's what we're looking for, Mark. Okay. So the last sentence you read it as typically the questioning pattern that we should follow while conducting the interview is.
So first you'd ask questions and then
What did you say, Mark?
option A.
Option A, okay. Muhib. Hello, Muhib. I haven't heard you at all today. I don't know what happened. You can put it in the chat window as well. For some reason, if your speaker isn't working, you can actually put it in the chat window. Can you put your answer in chat window? Maybe I'm not hearing him. Nishant?
Yes, sir. Beta.
Okay. Lakshmi. Hello, Lakshmi.
Yeah, just 1 minute, please.
Yeah, all of you read the questions. Don't take 1 more minute to read the question. All of you are supposed to read all the questions.
A.
Okay. Nishant, there is nothing called calculation-oriented question in Babok. It's open-ended and close-ended question. Okay. So let me, I think, a couple of terms may be helpful for all of us to know here. In Babok, there are two types of interviews. One is structured and one is unstructured. In structured interview, you have set questions in your mind. In unstructured, you don't have questions in your mind. You build on top of it. So typically, if you are doing an interview, maybe you start with structured and then go to unstructured. But for questioning type, we have two types of questions. One is open-ended, and one is close-ended. Open-ended questions can have a very descriptive answer. Close-ended questions usually would be like digital. Yes, no, I like, I don't like, I like red color. It's very finite answer. That's why we call it as close-ended, which means limited choice. Here, the choice is unlimited. Okay, so typically in an interview, we start with open-ended questions, then kind of farm it up to close-ended questions. Okay, very good. So that was correct answer by Mark. Okay, next question goes to Nishant. Nishant, can you apply elimination technique quickly?
Yeah, just I'm reading question.
Okay.
SLM.
Okay, go ahead.
Organization management. C.
Okay. Just quickly to ask you, is observation something that you can study? Is it a document or a technique?
It's a technique.
So,
hello.
Yes, yeah. I understand. So it is asking you to study something. So study would typically mean a document that you should study. So among this, which ones are documents?
Yeah, first one there.
Correct.
Alpha.
Okay. So read the question a little carefully. Then you will get the answer. It's not very hard. Typically,
Right.
techniques you can practice or perform, but not study. Whereas documents you can study. Very good. Okay, then next question goes to Lakshmi.
D.
Okay. Suman?
I would go with option D, provide the right information to stakeholders during the session.
Okay. Zig?
I think it's one B.
What did you say, Zig?
I think that's one B.
Not able. Can you just put it in the chat window, Zig? I didn't hear you very well. Option A, B, C, D. Which one is your choice? Option B. Okay. Mark?
A.
A. Okay. This is a very interesting question. And you may get some questions like this. Here, all four options are actually correct. So what Suman said is right. What Zig said is right. What Mark said is also right. But which one should we choose? Which means we have to choose the best option, not correct option. So what is the most important role for the facilitator?
A.
Correct.
Option A.
Correct. So read the question carefully. So don't, suppose you found option D, you read option D, looks appropriate. It's not that it is wrong, but the question is looking for the best alternative, not correct alternative. Because there can be technically 2 or 3 correct alternatives. That's why these questions become a little bit more tricky. If the case would have been 1 right, 3 wrong, it's much easier. Here, the problem can be 2 can be right, 3 can be right, 4 can be right as well. So among the options, which is the best thing to pick? Who would be the best stakeholder? What is the best thing to do? Who is most appropriate? What is most appropriate technique? That is what we have to figure out. Okay, so Mark was right, and I think Suman was right in the next attempt. It is to enforce discipline and ground rules for a session.
Yeah, actually, sometimes there is a clash between what Babok say and what we are practicing in our day-to-day life.
No, you have to go by. You have to go by Babok, not by what you do in your company.
Yeah, that's why the last option came to my mind first, and after that, when I thought again that according to the book, first option should be right.
Okay. Let me make a big, bold statement here. I think that is something we all should remember all the time. This is something like this. Always ask, always answer as per Babok. Okay. Sometimes you may not agree with Babok. Keep that outside the exam. Okay, especially if you have a lot of experience, sometimes you start questioning Babok, which I do. And I sometimes feel I'm right. And I have actually found quite a few defects in Babok as well. I have written a lot of them to IIBA. They have accepted that what is there in the book is wrong. But the problem is the test is based on the book. So at least when I am writing the test, I should not dispute the book. Mark, is it clear to you? Okay. For the exam, Babok is like God, and God cannot be wrong. At least from the exam point of view, go by Babok. Do not override Babok thoughts with your practices or with your logic. That's not right. You may be technically right. Actually, I'm not saying that you are wrong, but don't do it during the exam.
From exam perspective, it's wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
During the exam, stick to Babok. Okay. Very good. Okay, then let's go to next question. And this goes to whom? I think we had gone up to Nishant. I think we covered. Lakshmi. Lakshmi, would you like to take this question? Or did you do a question? Then I'll ask Suman. Suman, go ahead.
Okay. Option A.
Zig.
A.
Okay. Mark.
No.
I didn't hear you very well, Mark. Can you please repeat? A. Okay. Huh. So I think I have been successful in distracting your mind. Okay. It looks very natural. No? If somebody is not ready to participate, why invite? But the correct option is C. If you read Babak, in focus group technique, it will very clearly say focus group participants must be pre-qualified. And as part of that pre-qualification, you can choose actually if they're ready to participate. They're the right kind of people to participate. Even if somebody is ready to participate, I may not take that person into a focus group because that person may not be suitable. So first I have to check suitability. That means is the stakeholder right stakeholder to get in? Second, is the stakeholder willing to participate? And sometimes, even if a stakeholder is not ready to participate, I still may invite because I may like to understand the devil's advocate point of view. Because some people may play that role very well, where they kind of find flaws in your argument. So a lot of times we may have actually we get carried away by our own perception. This is right. This is the right thing to do. But we may be making assumptions which somebody else can catch. I may not be able to catch because I'm only making the plan. Okay. So it's actually C. One more tip. During the exam, if you don't know an answer, just put C. The chance that C will be right is much higher than A, B, or D. This is something I wanted to put it in our study guide, but Peter did not agree. He said, no, Ellen, we cannot write like that. So I dropped that idea. But my personal hunch says, if I am totally clueless about a question, I would put C and go ahead. The advantage for me is, suppose it's not right, I get 0. If it is right, I get the score. There is no negative marking. So why would I leave out a question? Okay. The other thing you can do, and it's allowed in real exam as well, you have something called mark for review, which means if you are not confident about a particular question, you can flag it for review and you can come back at the end of the question, at the end of the exam to take a look at the question. So any question you are finding very difficult, just mark it for review and go ahead. Okay. Good. Next question goes to Zig. This is very simple, Zig. So I'll ask you a slightly more difficult question. I think I should move this question to ECBA. It should not be CCBA question. Go ahead with this one.
Okay. This one this week on the process of making sure they can consider the stakeholders. Issues come up that usually resources may rather formally in item tracker role. Okay, and then I would say B, to ensure that when a recitation produced issues, they are tracked to resolution.
Very good. Lakshmi, what would be your choice?
A.
Okay. Nishant?
I'll choose B to beta.
Lakshmi, A is not incorrect. Okay, but B is a better option. See, the primary purpose of item tracking is to make sure that you track the items to closure. That's the main purpose. Maybe you can use it for historical purpose as well, but that's a secondary outcome, not the primary purpose. So always look for the primary purpose. That is what in most situations the questions will be asked. Like we said, the facilitator's primary role, not secondary role. Okay, primary role is more important than secondary role. Good. So now I think you must be getting a feel of how these questions look like, what complexity level they are at. This is the typical level of complexity that you get in the exam. So if you are able to answer these questions reasonably well, you will also do well in the exam. Don't worry. Any question on elicitation knowledge area before we move to our next knowledge area? All okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So then I think it's a good time to take a short break. So it's 11:24 in my clock. We will come back at 11:40 and continue with our next knowledge areas. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.